UFC Fight Night Paris was certainly an event. We had Joe Anderson Brito fight exactly like a crackhead jacked up on PCP, which frankly is a terrifying fight style, and honestly, he probably should have got the decision for that fight. And then we had Brendan Allen, who just went out there round one and big-dicked Nasruddin, dominated him round one, and then subsequently had zero success following that, which we will actually circle back to because I think there are some important concepts to look at in regards to the main event. But speaking of the main event, Renato Moicano versus Benoit Saint Denis. I mean, what can I say? I mean, Renato, he just frankly cannot afford to lose, can he? I mean, I don't think that's even a figurative statement anymore. He cannot afford it. Like, if he were to lose, he would just tell them, like, what do you want me to do? I can't afford it. Like, I don't have the funds to lose. Therefore, what do you want me to do? You know what I mean? And, you know, again, that is also a very terrifying fight style. But honestly, I think it might be time to start entertaining the idea that Benoit is sort of overrated. Okay, because going into this fight, I think two things were very clear to me at least, and that was Renato Moicano is going to be the all-around cleaner grappler, better back takes, better submissions, and Benoit does, in certain areas, lack fundamentals. Now, in my mind, he made up with that with just physicality and willpower and, you know, being just a gnarly individual, but he really has made zero improvement since the Dustin Poirier fight. Because if you go back and you do the film study on Benoit, it is so clear that he just does not have any striking defense. He walks right at you, chin right in the air, no head movement. He is extremely susceptible to straight shots. And you look at Renato Moicano, and I think the Brad Riddell fight is a great instance of him just doing a good job of managing distance and landing straight shots right down the middle. So to me, going into the fight, this is what I thought it came down to. I thought that Benoit Saint Denis was going to have a massive advantage if he could get Renato backed up to the fence, get in his face where he lands short elbows and just crowds you and clinches and throws knees, because I didn't think that Renato had the ability of somebody like Dustin Poirier to land, you know, short uppercuts, short hooks in the pocket. But if Renato was able to keep the fight out in the open, there he would have a huge advantage. He would just be landing straight shots all day long if Benoit hadn't made any improvements to his game. And if Renato was able to take Benoit down, he was going to be the better grappler. I just think he's far more classically trained. You can tell he has better fundamentals. But I did think that Benoit was going to be far stronger and therefore have the advantage when it came to positional grappling. But we saw very early on Renato hit a clinch takedown. Now, clinch takedowns, they're a very interesting case because they can catch guys very off guard. I think every fighter is very ready when somebody shoots on them, whether it be single legs, double legs, but typically in the clinch, most guys feel pretty safe. But they're just not ready when somebody explodes on them, gets chest to chest, and they don't realize how quickly they can be manipulated. That's exactly what we saw when Renato Moicano did it to Benoit Saint Denis. And again, circling back, that is how Brendan Allen surprised Nasruddin and took him down early. I mean, Brendan Allen was shooting a lot of singles on Nasruddin and just had zero success. I mean, you could tell he was very prepared for that kind of takedown. But again, when somebody explodes on you and now they're bear hugging you chest to chest, I mean, they have so much strength in that position. And Renato, I mean, he is so high level from that position. You know, when you look at the Jalen Turner fight, typically it is so difficult to land clinch takedowns on guys who are taller and longer than you. But the way he manipulates you, off balances you, it is just such a fucking problem. And, you know, when he got Benoit down, you know, it was clear he was, again, so much better on the ground, so much more skillful. I mean, we know that Benoit is really good with the butterfly sweep, but Renato, he was having none of it. Absolutely none of it. His top pressure for a pure jiu-jitsu guy is insane. I mean, his cross faces, his shoulder pressure, he just does such a good job of keeping you flat on your back and eliminating any strength you have off the bottom. He kept using a body lock and just condensing Benoit, getting really tight and really in close with him, and he had no strength from the bottom to even attempt any butterfly sweeps. And of course, when you're stuck flat on your back, the only way to get up if you're not up against the fence is turtling. I mean, that's it. You have to go to your knees to try to stand back up. And every single time Benoit did, Renato was just waiting to take his back. I think, honestly, Renato is up there with guys like Aljamain Sterling when it comes to the proficiency they have in sliding their hooks in. But a big problem Benoit had, again, it falls back to fundamentals. You need an underhook when you try to stand back up from on the bottom. It is just non-negotiable against somebody who's high level at taking your back. I mean, when you go back and you look at, for example, the Leon Edwards-Colby Covington fight, this is the power of the underhook. Colby has an underhook right now on Leon, but despite that, Leon still tries to step over to take his back, and it just doesn't work. If your opponent has an underhook on you, you cannot take their back. It is not possible. But Benoit, he kept trying to turtle without it. He was just gifting Renato the back take. And from a position like that, there's really so little you can do to escape. I mean, honestly, Benoit was doing a good job turning and trying to scramble, but Moicano never lost the lock. So he was ending up in horrible positions where he's flat on his back with the body triangle lock, just eating horrendous shots. And he was getting the absolute fuck beaten out of him. Okay, there's no way around that. He was getting brutalized. But BSD, he's able to survive to round 2. And look, I don't want to judge him too harshly. Because, again, I mean, just look at his face. He's mangled. His eye was completely closed up. Couldn't see. However, again, you go back and you look at all of Benoit's past fights, he has an issue just eating punches straight down the middle. He really doesn't have any head movement. He doesn't have any striking defense, and this did not seem to be any different. I mean, Renato was landing so many straight shots on him throughout the entirety of round 2. He even caught him super clean with a straight shot before he was all mangled at the very start of the fight. So look, Benoit Saint Denis, he has massive holes in his game. All right, there's no way around that, and against elite competition, this is always going to be a problem for him. Now, I am seeing some people disappointed with the stoppage. I mean, I don't think there's any argument that the fight shouldn't have been stopped. If you cannot see out of one of your eyes, that is just what they're going to do. They're going to stop the fight. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But some people think that Benoit did win the second round, and he could have potentially won the fight. I'm not so sure. I mean, look, yeah, Renato did struggle taking him down with traditional shots without surprising him with the clinch takedown, but I think a big factor that came from one of Benoit's best attacks is his rear kick. He mixes it up to the body and the head very well, but that is how he got taken down round 1, because Renato caught the body kick and was able to use it to get deep on takedown, so Benoit couldn't really throw it the same way, and again, he was getting caught with straight shots right down the middle over and over again, and I just think that he has holes in his game that somebody like Renato can exploit. I don't think there's any way around it. I think that Benoit needs to take a lot of time off. Like, I'm talking a year plus. He needs to, first of all, recover, and then second of all, he's got to patch up some of these holes. I would have him do a ton of boxing sparring. A ton. He needs to develop just some ability to avoid punches, to not be so reckless, to have some ability to slip, to have some ability to see punches coming, get his head off the center line, because he is just never going to be able to contend with the elite of the division with striking defense deficiencies like this. I mean, and I don't think there's any way around it. Now, Renato, he's called out Paddy Pimblett. I think genius by him, first of all, genius. And honestly, look, Paddy Pimblett, I've always said his jiu-jitsu, his grappling is really, really good. Now, everywhere else, I think he's not great. I think he's actually pretty shit. But again, his grappling's good. I think he doesn't do a good job, though, of shooting takedowns, of, you know, forcing his grappling upon people. But I think somebody like Renato Moicano is a decent fight for him. I think that's probably the easiest, most high-profile fight for Renato. So I think that should definitely be next. And I think, look, financially motivated Moicano is somebody we need to keep an eye on, because he is a fucking problem.